In this video, we're going to discuss changes we advise HotDocs developers to make after the installation of HotDocs. These are workstation-specific changes. If you receive a new computer, your computer is reimaged, or you move from one computer to another in your office, you'll need to make these changes again. The first thing you're going to need to do is launch HotDocs. Once you've done that, you're going to want to click on the HotDocs options at the HotDocs toolbar at the library. Over to the left-hand side of the HotDocs options, you'll notice that everything is organized into folders by type. The first folder you'll click on is Template Development. Under Template Development, I'm going to have you double check that a setting has already been set to Smart or that you make this change now. But I'm going to have you look at Insert Returns After Instructions and Text Templates. This would be the setting to Smart that I was just mentioning. To explain what this setting is and why I want you to make this change, in later videos you're going to be including conditional logic in your templates. You're also going to be including repeat instructions in your templates. Those instructions will surround entire paragraphs. They may surround words within documents just in the middle of paragraphs, or they could surround entire pages of a document. This setting being changed to Smart will help HotDocs understand where hard returns need to be placed when you are coding. The next change I'm going to have you make is actually specific to those in HotDocs who are working with web-based versions of HotDocs. Our web-based versions of HotDocs include HotDocs Market, HotDocs DS, HotDocs Cloud, Template Portal, and other versions. For those of you working with web-based versions of HotDocs, you're going to want to come down here and check Enable for use with HotDocs Server. This will make sure that all the templates you're developing are supported in web-based versions of HotDocs and you're not implementing features that are not supported on those versions. The next change that we're going to make is an optional change under Interviews and Dialogues. This same change is something that your users may also want to change. When you look at this screen, you're going to go down to Date Display Format. This does not affect what happens in the finished document. It only changes the way that the date looks for you when you're filling out a form. By default, when HotDocs is installed, the date default is 3 June 1990. This will consistently be how dates look when you're filling your interviews out. If you'd like to choose something else at this point in time, there are 3 other options in the list. When you're filling out your dates in a HotDocs interview, HotDocs wants you to fill in all 4 digits of the year if you're typing them in by hand, or if it's filling it in from the calendar. If you'd like to fill in the date with just 2 digits for the year, then you're going to want to uncheck Require 4-digit years in dates. When you uncheck this, HotDocs needs to understand when the century rollover is or where it is. A century rollover, if you're not sure what that is when you're typing in, for example, 01, is that 1901 or 2001? That's the century rollover. Right now in HotDocs, the default is 50. That means any number before the number 50 would be the year 2000. Any number after the number 50 would be the prior century or 1900. The next change that I'd like you to make is under File Management. Now most of you may not have to make this change, we're just going to double check this setting here. So I'd like you to go under the File Management folder. And this has to do with your answer files. For those of you who don't remember this from our prior videos, an answer file stores the data you type in when you're filling in your interview. We want those to be managed, especially for large corporations or large organizations. We want those to be managed by Windows Explorer. So go ahead and make that change. Even if you're a small organization or you're a solo practitioner, having Windows Explorer manage that will be easier for you than having HotDocs libraries manage that. One of our last changes has to do with where HotDocs saves files. So we're going to go to a couple of different folders. The first is file locations. Under file locations, there are several settings you may want to change here. The first is library files. The library is what you see in the background. This is your gateway, your portal to everything that happens in HotDocs when you first launch the program. By default, when you install HotDocs, libraries will be saved to your local machine, generally into this Documents HotDocs Libraries folder. That's not conducive for disaster recovery or backing up the files. We strongly advise that you change this setting to a network location where the files can be easily backed up and recovered when necessary. Additionally, you'll notice that there is a similar setting for your template files. On the template files, we advise the same change, that instead of using your local computer to store your template files, that the development files you're going to be working on be stored out on a network. Now, these template files, I do want to point out, are not your word processor template files. These would be your PDF template files that you're working on in HotDocs. So that's what this setting is right here. A third setting you're going to want to change is answer files. The answer files setting here is basically where HotDocs is going to store all those answer files once you create them. Now, as a developer, you might think, I'm not going to save answer files. But when you're testing, it's important to use existing answer files and new answer files. So you will be saving answer files. Plus, you may be one of those individuals that wears multiple hats in your company, and you may have to use existing answer files because you're both a user and a developer. So rather than have these at your local machine, they should be pointing to some network location where those answer files again can be backed up and recovered easily, but also so that they can be used by other individuals within the office. To change one of these three settings, you select the setting, click Edit, and browse to the new location that you want HotDocs to use. The last setting that we're going to change for file locations is word processors. As I'd mentioned, this template files folder or setting here is only for your PDF templates. More than likely, you're doing a lot of word processor template development in HotDocs. I'm going to click on word processors, and when you come in here, you'll notice there's several different word processors that HotDocs is compatible with. HotDocs notices what word processors I have installed. Those are the ones that are checked. This one is the one it's using by default. If you have more than one word processor installed, you can decide which one you want to use as the default, and you can actually enable different ones that HotDocs may or may not notice on your machine. So if I didn't want it to work with Word 2010 the way it does right now, I could disable that by unchecking this. What I want to do is actually show you where you could change the setting for word processor files where they're actually stored when they first get created. I'm going to expand the word processor folder, and under each of the word processors you're working with, there's going to be a separate setting. So depending on how many word processors you have installed, you may have to do this step multiple times. I'll go ahead and go to the Word 2010 folder. You can choose whatever folder you want to on your computer if you're following along. You'll notice there's a couple of different fields here. Don't change the startup folder. HotDocs needs certain macros to be in the startup folder with Word. This is one we advise you don't touch. The templates folder is the folder where all new templates are initially placed when HotDocs creates them. This folder, as well as the templates folder over here under file locations, is just initially where HotDocs places the files. They can be moved after the fact. The documents folder is where HotDocs will initially place documents you save after assembly. So this doesn't have to do with template development. This has to do when you're testing and you want to save one of those Word files, Or when you're a user and you want to save one of those Word files, where is HotDocs going to suggest that you save that file? If you want to make a change to one of these two directories, I highly advise you make the change to this one. Go ahead and click on this icon, the browse icon next to the field, and then browse to the location that you want to save those files to by default. Thank you for watching this video.